He was the finest jazz trumpet player of the 1960s, continuing into the next 3 decades. He represented the next step in the lineage of Fats Navarro and Clifford Brown. Who was Freddie Hubbard? Here on Big on Bebop. He was born Frederick Dwayne Hubbard on April 7, 1938 in Indianapolis, Indiana. His sister sang and played classical music and spirituals. His brother played the piano. Hubbard started playing the mellophone and trumpet in his high school band at Arsenal Technical High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. Trumpeter Lee Katzman with Stan Kenton suggested he take trumpet lessons with Max Woodbury, principal trumpeter of the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. In his teens, Hubbard worked locally with brothers Wes and Monk Montgomery, and then bassist Larry Ridley and saxophonist James Spaulding. In 1958, at the age of 20, he moved to New York City, began playing with the heavyweights. Philly Joe Jones, Sonny Rollins, Slide Hampton, Eric Dolphy, J.J. Johnson, and Quincy Jones. On June 19, 1960, Hubbard made his first record as a leader, Open Sesame, at the beginning of his contract with Blue Note Records, with saxophonist Tina Brooks, pianist McCoy Tyner, bassist Sam Jones, and drummer Clifford Jarvis. 6 days later, he recorded with Brooks on True Blue. In December of 1960, Hubbard was invited to play on Ornette Coleman's Free Jazz. In May 1961, Hubbard played on Ole Coltrane, John Coltrane's final session for Atlantic Records. Coltrane also hired Hubbard, Eric Dolphy, and Art Davis to record Africa Brass, Coltrane's first album with Impulse. In August of 1961, Hubbard recorded Ready for Freddie, also for Blue Note, which was his first collaboration with saxophonist Wayne Shorter. Hubbard became Shorter's bandmate when he replaced Lee Morgan in Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers later in 1961. He played on more than 10 live and studio recordings with Blakey during one of the most acclaimed eras of the Jazz Messengers, including Caravan, Ugitsu, Mosaic, and Free For All during the 1960s. Hubbard remained with Blakey until 1966, leaving to form the first of several small groups of his own, which featured, among others, his Blue Note associate James Spaulding, pianist Kenny Barron, and drummer Louis Hayes. It was during this time that he began to develop his own sound, distancing himself from the early influence of Clifford Brown. Hubbard achieved his greatest popular success in the 1970s with a series of albums with Creed Taylor and his record label CTI Records. Although his early 1970 jazz albums, Red Clay, First Light, Straight Life, and Skydive, were particularly well received, the albums he recorded later in the decade were attacked by critics for their commercialism. In 1977, Hubbard joined the all-star VSOP band, which also featured Herbie Hancock, Tony Williams, Ron Carter, and Wayne Shorter. Hubbard's trumpet playing was featured on the track Zanzibar from the 1978 Billy Joel album 52nd Street. In the 1980s, Hubbard was again leading his own jazz group, this time with Billy Childs and Larry Klein, receiving favorable reviews. In 1988, he again teamed up with Art Blakey at an engagement in the Netherlands. In 1990, he found himself in Japan, headlining an American-Japanese concert package, which also featured Elvin Jones, Sonny Fortune, pianist George Duke and Benny Green, bass players Ron Carter and Rufus Reed, with jazz vocalist Selena Jones. He also performed at the Warsaw Jazz Festival. Following a long setback of health problems and a serious lip injury in 1992, when he had subsequently developed an infection, Hubbard was again playing and recording occasionally, even if it was not at the level he had set for himself early in his career. In 2006, the National Endowment for the Arts accorded Hubbard its highest honor in jazz, the NEA Jazz Masters Award. On December 29, 2008, Hubbard died in Sherman Oaks, California, from complication caused by a heart attack he had suffered on November 26. Out of the mold of Clifford Brown, his sound, technique, and fire made him an exemplar of the style and the personal voice from within it. Freddie Hubbard, monster jazz bebop trumpet player.